We never touched on what the manifesto actually is.
Okay, so it's called the Librarians Manifesto. These are, our principles that guide our parties. Number 1, come for the music. Number 2, be open to unfamiliar music and sounds. Number 3, respect one another. 4, face each other instead of the DJ. That's a fan favorite. 5, no phones allowed on the dance floor. 6, dress to express yourself. And 7, dance your heart out.
I love that. That's perfect. Hey, it's Derrick Gee and this is Speaks Volumes. And today we are speaking to Jojo and Tinzo. You might not know their names. You might not. Maybe you do. But you've definitely seen their thumbnail on your YouTube homepage at some point for Book Club Radio, which they founded. The brother and sister duo really quickly found an audience by documenting their house parties in New York. And it's grown to be a really incredible and supportive offline and online community of dance music lovers. And I wanted to talk to them because I do see it as an evolution of Boiler Room, but something that's taking it to a next generation that is a lot more in tune with online and offline cultures and the importance of nurturing both, protecting both, but also thinking about the online marketing of things and the offline protection of making it all about the music. I hope you like this one. It's really lovely. But before we get into this great conversation with Book Club Radio, today's episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace, I've been a customer for more than a decade now, which is crazy. Squarespace is a website all-in-one platform where you can build websites, whether you're a photographer, a blogger, or a small business or a big business. They have so many tools. And what I love about them is that they continually innovate with their product offering. So whenever I log on, there's something new to check out and to use as part of the platform, including Squarespace Blueprint, which I launched last year, where it asks you a few prompts and you can cycle through building a website, adding the sections and choosing the designs and layouts and color schemes and be done within a minute. It's pretty incredible and just takes all the effort out of building websites. It's that simple. And I also love their feature of the Fluid Engine, where as long as you can drag and drop things around a page, you can design a website. And what I love about that is that I love ultimate flexibility when it comes to web design because I don't know anything about coding, but I know how I want it to look. And with the Fluid Engine, you can just drag things around, customize it because you know your visitors of the platform better than anyone and you know how they want to interact and you can customize it exactly how you like, which is what I love about it. So head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to go live, you can take 10% off your first purchase of website or domain by going to squarespace.com/volume and using the code word volume. All right, let's get on with the conversation. It is Speaks Volumes and we have a very exciting guest with me today, coming to us from, is it Brooklyn? Are we in Brooklyn?
Yes, we're in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
We have Jojo and Tinzo from Book Club Radio. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, what's up?
A lot more now that we're sitting across from you guys. We're sitting in what I think we said just off the call in Jojo's kitchen. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Also, where we had our first book club party was like my
Really?
kitchen, and then the living room is right there.
Were you just throwing parties from time to time?
Yeah, I mean, we were just throwing lots of parties here because we're really lucky. We don't have any neighbors on our walls. So it's like very rare in New York. So we just get really, really loud. And it gave us kind of the freedom to be really, really loud. So we would throw really late, loud parties and then...
Or just pre-games before we go out.
Lots of pre-game.
Get
Every
amped
pre-game.
up.
Yeah. Probably every pre-game is here.
Well, how does that work? Like, is it in an industrial area or something?
No, it's like it's on top of another business. And so it's just like one unit on top of a business, and found it during 2020 when the whole market was upside down, and got really lucky and hope to stay here forever now.
That's such an interesting detail about like how a situation can create something as well.
Yes.
Like, does it get loud? Like you can go really late into the night type loud?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like we've seen people on the other side of the street, like dancing to our music with the windows
That
closed.
happened at our first or second
Our
meeting.
second party, yeah.
And there are people just across the street, and we're like, look. And they're just like,
They're boogieing.
Really?
Yeah, they could
Yeah.
hear it.
So, yeah, we've gotten lucky. And I mean, there really aren't, the neighbors across the street and then like the next building over would be the closest neighbors. So we haven't had a book club party in here in a while, though, because my biggest fear is that like too many people in this apartment would make the floor cave in. I've seen like those videos on TikTok.
Because you guys are siblings. I think it's worth acknowledging for those who don't know. And Tinzo, you live across the street, did you say?
Yeah, I live about a block and a, it's literally a 2-minute walk, less if I hurry up. So yeah, we live really close, but that was Jojo's doing. My girlfriend and I were looking for places, and Jojo was like, basically acting as a realtor and was just sending us places. And I'm like, you're making it way too easy. I guess I'll move into the neighborhood.
Being siblings, like I can't imagine having such a close working relationship with. I've got 3 siblings. Have you guys always been close?
No, but in our adult lives, yes.
Yeah. Like, we're probably best buddies when I was a toddler, and then once Jojo was like getting into those preteens, wanted nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And then once I was like getting into music, and then your friends were like, oh, okay, she's not too bad. Like when you were in high school.
Yeah,
Then that's when we started hanging out a little bit.
We definitely have very similar tastes and interests. And I think that like we are natural friends, you know? I think a lot of siblings don't necessarily have a ton in common other than blood. And so we are sort of natural friends. I think that makes it easy.
Yeah, very similar but different in ways. Like I always joke that we're basically twins. I was just born 4.5 years late because sometimes it's scary how similar we are.
That's really beautiful because I'm closer with some of my siblings than others, so it's like a really nice thing to cherish. But for those who don't know, I want to set up why we're talking and why I find this really exciting as a discussion. So we'll get into the details of Book Club Radio. But for those who don't know, Book Club Radio is a party. It's a YouTube channel. It's something that, for me, because I want to hear it from in your own words, but for me, came across my YouTube homepage, and one thumbnail popped up, and then another, and then another, and then you just saw these parties, New York rooftops, and or basement parties in Brooklyn or whatever, and you could see like this thing growing and moving, and I was intrigued, and I guess like as the sort of person I am, I kind of just keep an eye on these things as someone that's generally interested in the music industry, in dance music and club culture and things. And I'm like, what is this? I haven't seen something like this before as someone that's consumed and enjoyed a lot of boiler rooms or the kind of subsets of those types of things. But this feels different. And Jojo and I connected on Instagram. And so I leapt at that opportunity to kind of learn more about it, and not only learn more about it, but introduce you guys and your stories on the podcast as well. And so tell us about Book Club Radio and how it started.
Well, there's one thing that you said, I don't want to forget it, because you mentioned that you related it to Boiler Room and other type of channels like that, but you mentioned that it feels different. I'm really curious what you meant by that.
I think what feels different about it is that it feels like you're watching friends as opposed to observing and admiring or being in awe of or judging a DJ. Because, you've got anything from Boiler Room to Circle to Keep Hush to a bunch of other DJ mix series. And it's all about the DJ, and these are established DJ names that have been on the circuit, and they finally get their Boiler Room moment, and it's in a Boiler Room space or it's in a Keep Hush space, whereas this was like house parties, and it was friends with drinks and like friends coming up to the DJ mid-set, giving you a hug, and it felt different. And I have theories that, there's reasons why, you guys are doing really well, in a really positive sense. But does that ring true to you guys when you hear what I say?
Yeah, that's literally how it started with friends.
Yeah, I mean, that is real. That is real. Like, it wasn't it wasn't people told to behave in a certain way other than our main rules. I think there is I consume so many of those types of videos of DJ performing, people in the background. Like, watched Boiler Room since it started, and at some point it does sort of feel like people are acting in a way, or like told to act in a way, and it doesn't feel as organic. And my background being in film, like, I just really love cinema, and I love party scenes, and I love party scenes from movies. And Boiler Room videos, mixed mag videos, whatever that genre of video is called, I don't really know what the name for it is, but they don't feel like party scenes. They're not cinematic in that way. And so the idea was, could we, we throw parties all the time, could we capture that in a way that feels like a party scene from a movie, that feels cinematic? And so that,
rather than a show,
yeah.
Book Club Radio in its video form, how did that come about? Was it you were throwing parties and, we should film it? Or was it like, we want to film these parties, let's start a party? How did it all come about?
So basically, as I mentioned before, we were just doing pre-games a lot. We both started DJing in very different spaces, but around the same time. So we would practice at these pre-games, or our friend would have just a birthday party on the roof and we would be practicing together. And so we would meet up weekly, and go out to parties afterwards. And so that's kind of where Book Club Radio came from, because we were just meeting up regularly. And then
also we were like obsessive, because every time there was a party, we were like, okay, can we DJ? And then we would play for like 7 hours straight. It was just, or sometimes longer. Like, we were like just sitting there the whole time, maybe not really enjoying the party enough, but just like falling in love with that process.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I think it's worth noting that, you two are faces on the channel. You both DJ together separately, and the brand is Book Club Radio. The brand is also you guys DJing. Did I read somewhere that, you're relatively new to DJing, like in the last few years? It's not like you've been DJing for 10 years type thing?
Yeah, that's true. I'm like, I think so. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we basically started, I guess, getting into it about a year before we started the parties. But you kind of, back to that journalism conversation, I didn't feel like a proper DJ. So literally my first full-length set by myself was recorded, and that was the first book club meeting. So you really see us learning and you see us growing in this space, which at first I was so nervous about, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not a legit DJ. I'm going to put this on YouTube. I'm so nervous. And my girlfriend's like, no one's going to see it. Why are you? Who's going to see it? And then literally it blows up and I'm like, okay, so it's okay. But I think it's good, because I think a lot of people feel like they can't put themselves out there unless they're seasoned. And I think it's a really big learning opportunity. And I think it also just breaks the stigma that, anyone can DJ.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
She said.
Tell me more about that, and anyone can DJ, because I know that in certain circles, the discourse is like, not everyone can or should DJ, and DJ culture is, not about just filming yourself and putting it on TikTok. But I think that what appeals to me about what you guys do is that there is that earnest enthusiasm, honesty, passion, and it isn't like, and while being recommended or told by your girlfriend that you should upload it, I do feel like there's an energy transference of like, you're not trying to be anything, you're just having a good time. What do you think in response to that?
I mean, I agree with Tinzo that everyone can be a DJ. I mean, I don't know that everyone should be a DJ, but like, I mean, maybe everyone should be a DJ. Like I every time someone's like, oh, I want to try, or, you know, I invite them to try, and I'm always open to give tips. And, you know, I haven't been DJing for a long time, but I firmly believe that everyone can DJ. And I think, you know, technology has made it easier and easier to DJ, but ultimately, like, DJing is really just playing music for people and selecting music and playing music for them. And so, you know, through the years, it's become more complicated and less complicated with, you know, techniques and mixers and keeping the party alive and juggling records. But like, those aren't necessarily things that you need to do to DJ. Like, ultimately, it's just playing music for people. And I think sometimes it gets it too convoluted beyond that. And I also think because everyone can be a DJ, there might be some people who don't want be able to be a DJ because it's become so easy. And if everyone's doing it, then the competition gets a lot harder. And so I think that's where some of the gatekeeping comes from.
You're kind of existing on different poles of where the kind of culture sits, and which is why I think what you guys do is exciting. And I think in many ways it's why it works, because it's that open-mindedness and enthusiasm, and like it feels like the world of book club radio, it has a world, right? I feel like you guys have fun and there's an imagination in what you do. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that makes it a world is, one, we have the manifesto, and two, there's always a theme. That usually the theme is something that we're inspired by, that we've been inspired by since childhood. So it's like based off of our favorite books or films, or maybe just certain genres or periods of time. And so kind of being able to like live that childhood fantasy in a way, I think that also makes us way more excited about it, because we're like, okay, this isn't just a party, like we're transforming ourselves. You know, I always wanted to walk through a wardrobe and end up in Narnia, and it's kind of like our way of doing that.
What are some of the themes?
We've had so many themes. I mean, in order. In the order, we had we started really simple because we didn't know how much people would get into it. So we started with like a 90s party, and then we did
like an underwater pride party.
Yeah, an underwater pride party.
We're like, nautical is so gay. Let's do it.
We were trying to do like a Euro house, like Roman rooftop party, because I really love that scene from The Great Beauty where they're on the rooftop, and
yes,
that amazing party scene. So we were really inspired by that. We did an 80s prom, which was so fun. And once we did the 80s prom, then we're like, oh, these themes they have power.
We can run with it.
People showed up head to toe, like people were renting tuxes. Like, it was so involved and really felt like you were in the 80s and transformed, and had that 80s prom movie dance scene that I think all of us want to experience. So then we followed that up with film noir, and we filmed it in black and white. Everyone came dressed to the nines for that. And then we're like, okay, like how far can we push this? We did a Fast and Furious inspired one. I felt like that dress was going to be more abstract, and people still like showed up and showed out. It was just really impressive.
Probably the most accurate. I felt like I was in a Y2K movie. I was like, what is happening? We did Sleepy Hollow, which is probably the most involved theme, but people really showed out for it because it was Hall weekend. So
I can't even imagine, like, some people, it really seems like they've put a lot of either work crafting their looks or money into it to
I don't buy new clothes anymore. I just buy clothes for yeah. Seriously.
I want to go to the Fast and the Furious one. I would have gone as one of the Asian gangsters in the first one, where you're driving a black Honda Civic,
Yeah.
That's the best thing too, I think, about the Fast and Furious theme, because it's very inclusive. So everyone
it's
kind of had
multicultural. Yeah.
everyone kind of had their inspirations from that.
We just did a robot uprising one because that felt topical, and then we're about to announce like a 2000s EDM plur night, which I think will be really fun because I love to play like Avicii, so I'm just gonna play Avicii.
That's so fun because I feel like there's a lot that we have in common, and something that Tinzo mentioned that earlier about the journalism conversation before we jumped on officially to start recording. We're talking about whether I myself am a journalist versus being, what they call a content creator online, and we're talking about you guys and whether you're, you consider yourself a DJ or not. And I feel like what I find about myself is what I'm doing is new, but also not new at all. And I think it's similar. You guys are throwing parties and there are themes, and that's happened throughout all of time. But I think that in the world of recorded DJ sets where it's documented, I think a lot of people are very self-conscious about how do I look as cool as possible. Not to say you don't look cool. You guys look very cool. But it's like, it's without the pretense of, oh, it's my moment where I've got to like have my Fred again moment where everyone's got to be like going crazy over how amazing my blend was or whatever. And the themes feel like, I think I saw somewhere that like it motivates your own journey of discovery for a certain genre as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that you hit something really important, because also when you ask like how long have we been DJing, we've really only been DJing for 2 years, about, give or take. But also at the same time, we've done, I don't know, like 15, 16 book club sets. And each time we are playing a new style of music, mostly, that's inspired by the theme. And we never repeat songs because that would be boring. We can't play the same songs over and over.
But we've always been music fans. Like, we've DJ'd for 2 years, but we used to make music together in my bedroom when I was 11 years old, So there's still I think that's kind of all of that led up to this point.
But I think there's been sort of like this crash course and playing different styles, because we've had to, because we want to really embrace the theme. Like, we really want the music to reflect kind of the party, and the party to reflect the music. And
it's like a film and we're scoring it.
Exactly. And that I've learned so much about different styles of music in terms of just like researching, because that's spending days like downloading music for a mix, right? And finding new music and trying to like understand the theme in a way that goes deeper than just like, robot uprising. Well, like I was like really learning about like acid disco and its roots, so that's been a really cool experience too, and kind of a crash course in helping us learn how to DJ really quickly and learn about different styles of music really quickly, because it's sort of become our job.
Where does the music interest through your life come from? Like, I think that it shouldn't be understated that not anyone could just start this and be able to achieve the levels of success you have already. There has to be a level of taste, enthusiasm, understanding of and respect of music as well. So where do you think that comes from?
Probably both of our parents. Like, our dad's Filipino. We always were around karaoke machines, but this man loved like funk and soul music. So we grew up like listening to music of the 70s. Our mom grew up in the 80s and she was very theatrical. So kind of like you see us doing like production design for these parties, and that kind of comes from that inspiration too. But yeah, our mom had a very different taste in music. Our dad did. And so we basically took inspiration from all of those.
Yeah. Also, being a child of the internet, like I spent probably too much time on 4chan. like when I was younger.
Don't know if you want to admit that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine to admit it. I think I came out okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure. It's always felt important.
You played an instrument before I did. I think I started singing when I was 10. It's just like always been in our veins. It wasn't like a conscious decision of, oh, I'm going to be into music. It just was always a thing in our lives.
I will say, though, I did not necessarily plan on being so involved in music as like an adult and also professionally. Like, because I said I'd done film school route, and that was, has been number one since as long as I can remember. Like, probably since I was like 8 or 9 years old, I've wanted to do film. But I feel like book club is a really cool intersection of music and film. So it's just nice to be able to put all of your interests into a project.
Tell me about like what happened when it started to, how quickly did it start to move where you're like, oh, this isn't us just uploading our parties and filming it. And I would be the same. If I was filming myself DJing and putting it on YouTube specifically, I'd be like, if it gets 100 views, I'll be thrilled. Like, when did it start to move, and how did that make you feel?
I mean, we did the first one, and the first party, we uploaded 3 sets from that. And I think at one point in the first month, one of our mixes hit 1,000 views, and we're like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because we're like, we're not even marketing this. This is awesome.
Yeah, we were just putting it out there to live, and honestly, so we could watch it later. Like, we would have other pre-games, as we said, and then we just put them on, and then we had these kind of sets where we could just listen to the music as pre-orchestrated. But then after the third party, the green one in the basement, Tinzo had that.
Well, even before, for
that
the
one,
second one.
That one had a few thousand views, but it wasn't until the green one hit 100K first. And then we were like, yeah, I don't know what to call it.
No, it makes sense. No, everyone recognizes
our mixes by like what color they are. Yeah, the green one hit 100K first, and then we were like, whoa, that's sort of a big deal. And that was just one party before the groovy disco basement party. That was probably the one that you saw first, because 80% of book club viewers come into book club through that one video. So
wow,
I wouldn't be surprised if most people who have heard of us have heard of us because of that video. So that once that happened, that hit 1 million, and then we were like, yeah, Tinzo's a superstar, and this is game over. Like, now it's just a real thing now.
Has it changed your life? Like, where are we in that journey now?
Yeah, I guess that was the catalyst for everything. And I remember like explaining to my mom, even because she didn't know that we founded Book Club Radio. She thought this was a platform we were on. And I was like, Mom, wow, you don't understand. We did this. Like, my life is going to change next year. And I don't think she really I don't think it really registered for her until she visited this time around and actually went to a book club. But yeah, we're
playing at Coachella next month. That's cool.
It's just why, like, how has this happened? This has just happened so fast, and like by middle of the year I'll be able to be doing this full time, and it's actually a dream come true. And the fact that it's just like mostly just most of my time and energy spent on this passion project is the best part of it.
I think there's a lot that I can relate to with this, is in terms of like, I've done a passion project for a lot longer than you guys have in a different way. And when I often talk about what I do is like on the internet with my videos is like radio, but there's a camera in front of me, because I've always talked about and thought about music and talked about it with friends at dinner parties about what I think about music. And it just so happens that now I just talk down the lens and do the same things. And I think I had a similar experience to you, Tinzo, like about 8-9 months ago. I'm like, this is going to be my life, isn't it? This is going to be
Yeah.
my career, isn't it? But the money wasn't there yet. But it's like, but there's clearly evidence. There's enough evidence to say I've got to put all my chips here.
Right.
And it's a bizarre thing when we think about like music, especially, and culture and algorithms and the internet. And do you guys ever think about that? Like, because I know I do. Like, that was this always going to happen? Is it too deep of a question? I look back. I constantly am looking back at my life about like all the experience that I had that have led to a moment where I'm able to like connect with a lot of people.
When we first started book club, I remember it was Christmas dinner 2022. I'd finished eating dinner and we were in the car and I was just thinking about these DJ mixes. And I remember texting our group chat, which was called Book Club, by the way. Before Book Club was a thing, we had a group chat called Book Club where we would just plan out nights to go dancing. And it was reoccurring enough that we joked that we were going to book club. That's how the whole like name came about. So I texted the group and I was just like, well, I think we could, throw a party, like record DJ mixes. I have a camera. Like this would be really easy to do. And I just remember texting the group and actually wondering, like, is anyone else going to be, was Tinzo going to be interested in doing this? I was like, well, everyone be responsive to this. And so I really had no idea. I was like, honestly, maybe if everyone said that's a dumb idea, maybe it would have never happened. But everyone was kind of like,
hell yeah.
Yeah, immediately, like no questions asked. We're like, when are we doing it? And so I think from that moment on, there was a lot of hoping. And, I keep saying that this process has been intentional. We just didn't know that it was going to happen.
It's like high hopes, but low expectations. Like me going into that first set, I was like, nervous. And Claudia's like, who's going to see it? That type of thing. But
like, this is what we were going for.
Yeah. I always intended to do music full time, and even as a kid I was like, I'm gonna make it in music one day, and relatives are like, that's really difficult, like 1 in a million.
Yeah.
And I never knew how I was gonna do it, and definitely didn't expect it to be this way through DJing and through book club radio. But I think it's like I think even more proud of it because it's something that we created and we kind of gave ourselves the platform, which I think is super special to me anyway. Like I don't feel like I owe anybody anything. It's just us.
Yeah. I think back to that first time when I first thought of it and texted everyone and everyone was like, yes, immediately, to now. And I'm like, I could not imagine that in just, it's a little over a year, that in a little over a year, everything that has happened would have happened, that Tinzo would have, I don't know, I think you're close to like 20 million total views on YouTube for just Tinzo mixes alone, that we'd be playing Coachella, that, we're working on a tour and, we have an agent, and like all of these things just feel really impossible, I think. But I can't say that it wasn't the goal. Like it was part of the intention. It just wasn't the expectation.
Taking a moment from this delightful conversation with Tinzo and Jojo from Book Club Radio to tell you about the sponsor of the episode today, which is TurntableLab.com. Turntable Lab has been a long supporter of this podcast, so let me tell you a bit about them. If you're an enthusiast, if you're a beginner, if you are looking to buy a record player, turntable, speakers, headphones, speaker cable, anything you need in the world of speakers, audio, and hi-fi, Turntable Lab is your place to go because it's got them all. Plus, they have the lab, which houses 100,000 plus records. And you can pick up everything that you could desire, whether it's deep cuts, whether it's massive albums, whether it's movie soundtracks, you can find it all there. And if you buy 4 or more records, you can take advantage of their 4 or more deal, where you can take off 10% of your purchase if you buy 4 or more records. So head to turntablelab.com or turntablelab.com/Derrick to peruse through the selections of items that I recommend you buy, or items that I really want to buy as well. So thank you, Turntable Lab, for sponsoring this episode. And let's get back to the conversation with Jojo and Tinzo. I'll steal a quote from a music journalist, Sasha Frere Jones, that I had on the podcast last year. And he said it as a compliment, and I'm saying it to you guys as a compliment, but it sounds weird.
Okay.
It does sound weird. He said to me, like, he wanted to speak to me and understand what I was doing, because he was this guy that seemingly just jumped the queue and came out of nowhere and was talking about all this stuff and could do it really well and knew a lot of things. And he, I don't know exactly how old he is. I'm going to say like mid-40s-ish, maybe a bit older. And he's been doing music journalism his whole life. And then there's this guy that's popped up on the internet who can articulate himself about music. And I think that's what's brilliant about you guys. It's not like there's any cheating involved or anything. It's purely just timing and talent and a unity of like expertise and vision and friends and location. And there's so many tangibles or variables that go into it. But it's suddenly, like you said, Jojo, like within just over a year, and like for yourself, what you're saying, Tinzo, about like your career and where it's headed, is incredible as an experience to see. Does that kind of feel like, what is your response to hearing what Sasha said to me and what I'm saying to you guys?
I do have a little bit of guilt sometimes.
On what?
And just like I feel like there can be maybe that side eye. And maybe that's something that I'm putting on to other people's perspectives. Like, no one's actually walked up to me and been like, hey, you don't deserve what you got.
Yeah. I mean, some haters online.
Yeah,
but, like,
sure.
that's going to happen.
Of course. If you're winning online, then you'll get the haters for sure.
Yeah.
But I think I do feel some guilt sometimes where I'm like, there's so many people that I look up to. And I think can be imposter syndrome when you kind of take a big step.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I think that rings really true. And I haven't figured out how to deal with that. But I guess just own it.
It's not like you did anything, like you bought followers and then you kind of faked your way. Like you said, there's always going to be haters on the internet, but I don't think anyone looks at it and goes like, it's undeserved. It might have happened quickly, but it would be hard to criticize that it's not deserved. You're doing incredible things that, like, for both of you that have, your biggest, like, if we look at your biggest sets online, you're on your YouTube, Tinzo, your one, it's 9.5 million last time I checked, which is crazy, which is, it's funny to read, titles out loud, but Groovy Disco and R&B mix at a New York basement party. Tinzo, 9.5 million views. Like, and then Jojo, yours is classic 90s house remix set. Again, at a New York basement party. Like, talk me through those sets and why do you think they've resonated?
I don't know. I think a big thing, what I hear from a lot of people when they come up to me is I've played at least like a handful maybe of some of their favorite songs. So it's kind of like a combination of sharing stuff that they already know, but introducing new stuff. But I think for me personally, I am a very emotional being and I really love anything that's soulful or nostalgic. And so I think kind of like maximizing that in my sets has really resonated with people. Yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest thing. And I think like even though that we've had like a lot of parties with a lot of, upbeat, really hard mixes. It's fun to be in a party and be able to play stuff that's a little more casual listening that you don't always hear at a party. And I think people also appreciate that too.
Did you for that set or like your bigger sets? It's funny to kind of separate the internet and real life. Were some of the bigger sets of yours, did you think, oh, that was good, that was amazing, that one was terrible, and then the internet reads it a different way?
Yeah, I almost didn't post the Euro dance video. It was probably the last set of the night. I had gotten a little too lit than I wanted to, and I was just psyching myself out. And so the first few transitions, I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. People are gonna rip me a new one. And then everyone's like, I think it's pretty good. Like it's live. Like this is what happens in these scenes, and we can't pretend to be perfect, we're still learning. So I was like, okay, whatever, and then put it up and did not expect that response. But it makes sense because it's really nostalgic music, and a lot of our followers or party goers who are in their 40s and 50s, like they really, really resonated with that.
I also think, to what Tinzo was saying about not wanting to put it up, we made her, because if you were in that room, Derrick, it was so euphoric. Everyone was smiling. It was not, on the comments, I think people they'll timestamp every one of your mistakes.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's it wasn't the cleanest.
No, absolutely not. But it was fun.
But in the room, it was so fun. And I remember just jumping around with the biggest smile on my face. How many times are you in someone's basement? And it's just a regular house party. Like, we're literally in someone's basement.
Yeah,
it's just a
cops came that night.
It was just a typical house party, but everyone was just dancing so hard, smiling, getting sweaty, no phones. It felt so different to anything that we'd experienced before. And I was like, you have to post that, because I think that energy is so infectious.
So it does translate in a sense. It's like the room felt it, and the internet felt it, and the internet. I struggle these days to separate the two, like real life versus not real life, if that makes sense. Because
no, we think
it
about
is
that
all
too.
real life.
We're like,
but it does translate. It did translate.
Yeah, I do think there is sometimes more appreciation for the DJing and mix online, because it's what we live in this dichotomy, book club does, because at the party, you're asked not to face the DJ. You're asked to focus on the music, interact with each other, but not the performer, basically. And then on YouTube, it's like, well, the DJ is front and center. You're just kind of watching them like you're at front stage at the show. So it is this bit of a dichotomy. So I do think there is a different experience when you come to book club versus watching it online. So a lot of times people online, they are watching the DJ, obviously. They're focusing on the transitions more. They're focusing on the selections more. Mm-hmm. People will really know, if you have a really obscure sample from, Ghost in the Shell, people will call that out in the comments. But people in the room might not necessarily feel that, they're just kind of feeling the music and dancing and having
and there's
a good
some times when it's like, oh, this maybe doesn't hit as well with the room, but it's going to do really well online, or vice versa.
Honestly, we do think about that. We're kind of thinking about our mixes and, oh, this might perform better live, but this might perform better later on YouTube.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we just play what we want to play.
Yeah.
Well, how does that feel as the balance between the two, where you've got, let's be here, let's be present, let's be in the room, but we're also filming it, and there are very clearly lights. You have to light the DJ quite well.
There's a camera right in front of you.
Yeah. Is that a challenge? I would find that, and it's not a criticism, if I was in the same situation, I would find that challenging, as I think dance music and club culture is a very beautiful thing and can be a really pure thing. It's also evolved in a good way and in a bad way.
Yeah.
With you see people like filming parts of their sets so they can put it on TikTok, and then that blows up, and it's like the intention was that, like, that kind of duality or battle between the two. Is it just something you have to live with? Do you think about a lot? Does it matter? Do you care?
I think we're just trying to find a way to compromise between the two. Because I think it is fun to film something and to relive it and to listen back to it and watch the parties and kind of have the memories come flooding back. Like, that can be really fun.
Especially when we're like running around during the party, and then we can finally sit down and just watch it unfold.
Yeah, for us especially, because we're like working during the party. I don't want every party to be like that. Like, I don't want every party to be recorded. But I think it's just like a way for us to compromise the two, because we are trying to make a party that is really fun. And, we went to go see Peggy Go once, and, big fans. And like, we went to dance. Like, we went as a group, we went to dance, and it was so packed in there and everyone's facing one way. And so we literally couldn't dance with each other. And so much so that my girlfriend Carly like bumped into someone as we're dancing, and then this guy got like really mad at her, like almost started a fight, and then his girlfriend like had to like tone him down a little bit.
We're like, what happened to Plur?
Yeah, we're like, what happened to Plur, right? And so we did have this moment where we're like, oh, like, there are elements of what club culture has become that we are not big fans of. And so I think with book club, it's really trying to find a compromise of like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to film the party because that's fun for us. But also, can we still have that, what made club culture great, exist at the same time? Is there room for both of those things to exist? And I think we don't always nail it every party, but I think we get pretty close.
And it gets better too. The more people come, they're less phased by the camera, and they're kind of just more there for the experience. So I think that helps a lot too. Like, of course, you show up the first time and you're like, whoa, this is going to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're here for the first time, and it's so different. And then kind of once you come more frequently, it just becomes more comfortable and more of a natural thing.
I mean, the challenge for us is also make the party so good that people forget that you're filming it too.
Yeah.
That's a really smart intention. And I think you guys have struck a balance. And I think that's why it is working, is that both of you, right? Like, now you're not unknown, but when it started, relatively unknown DJs. If you look at the boiler room sense of things, the biggest DJ sets are usually by the biggest DJs.
Right.
And to kind of be the opposite, where it's like these up and coming names are getting millions of views, where you're capturing, and I think that's the balance of that, the experience that you both have, you're capturing in a cinematic way, and through friends and through the energy and intention behind it, something that isn't filming a DJ, it's capturing a moment. And I think that is not something that is Boiler Room's intention, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And it isn't a criticism to them. It's more of a, okay, I see this as an evolution, because I would say the founders of Boiler Room are 40 plus, and you guys aren't quite half their age, but it's like, it's a new generation of taking what they were doing and building upon that, but also looking back at like parties that were, and trying to create that as well. Do you find as it grows that it attracts a new crowd, that people are turning up wanting to be in a YouTube video?
Yeah, I think,
For sure.
like I just had said, that we don't nail it every time, but I think we're getting close. I mean, we do have precautions. Like, it's not the easiest thing to come to a book club party. Like, we don't post the tickets for it online. You kind of have to, read our posts and find out how to come yourself, or find someone that has been. With the goal of intentionally making it difficult to come, so that the people that are there, like, do want to be there, because there's nothing worse than when you're at a party and everyone is just wondering like what else they could be doing.
Yeah. People with the right intentions is kind of what we're after.
Yeah.
But I think it's some things just can't be helped when people come for the first time and get excited. But I think, as I said before, the more and more people come, it registers just the culture and the manifesto, which the manifesto is nothing new. It's, drawn from kind of how the dance floor started. But yeah, I think it gets tricky, but we try to filter that.
Yeah. And like there are lessons learned too. I also think the way you set up a room, so an issue we had at our anniversary party was there was a lot of new people because it was our biggest party yet. So we welcomed a lot of new people. And so there were a lot of people were good about not using their phones, but also a lot of people I think fell into that, like looking at the DJ concept, which is basically what our whole party is about. It's like make the dance floor for dancing. And so that was tricky, but I think we learned lessons every time. And one of the biggest lessons was like, it's how you set up the room. And so the way that room was set up, it was sort of a railroad shape, that bar. And so, like the DJ ended up being sort of in the middle of the room. And really like the DJ becomes the center of the dance floor when you do that, and sort of everyone kind of just looks towards the middle of the room naturally. And so I think there's like ways to set the room up to encourage better dancing. And, that's something that, every club is sort of designed with intention. So trying to find ways where we set up the speakers and the DJ and the dance floor and even the bar, and having that all be intentional definitely helps that problem a lot.
I think you guys being from New York is really interesting because there's a storied history of club culture and places, historic venues, places like the Loft, and places where it's about that inclusivity and about the space and how the sound is kind of meant to envelop people. And I feel like, I do think there's, like you said, Tinzo, there's older people that kind of grew up with certain music that you're playing in there. And I think that I can sense there's a level of respect about what it has been and what it was and what space you're in that is also helping, which is also an intangible thing that I think people can almost read or feel from it, that you want it to be about like a pure thing. And to clarify for people, when you said plur, which is I forget the first one, love, unity,
Peace.
Respect, and
Peace, love, unity, respect.
I was like, is it peace?
Uh-huh.
Which is a long-standing dance music code, I guess. So yeah, I do think there's a real purity to it, and it makes a lot of sense because like if you had a DJ with your back facing everyone the entire time, that is also a bit awkward, but it's also like serving two purposes.
It is, yeah.
I picked up on earlier, Jojo, you talking about being a child of the internet, as a lot of us are. And I do think about what you guys do and the language of the internet that is employed. I think it would be safe to say like you whether you learned it on the fly or it's intentional, whether the thumbnails that you pick and the descriptions that you choose. And I guess two questions. First, how intentional and strategic is that, and how much are you cognizant and savvy and think about that for book club?
Yeah, from day one or day -30, which was like how long I think it took to put the first party together. It was so yeah. I've done a few YouTube shows with PBS. One, the big one, Soundfield, which is like a music documentary series. And before that, I've done others with PBS. I hosted a show on PBS called Subcultured. And all of those shows were YouTube first. When I was hired at PBS 7 years ago, my job was like create content for YouTube. And I've been on YouTube since, I think my first YouTube video was in 2006. It was a video of me and my cousin like fighting in a like 70s kitschy like kung fu style. Yeah. And so yeah, I would say that I'm very like a lot of it is not by accident, because I've been on YouTube so much and fully understand kind of best practices and understand thumbnails and titling. Like that's book club titles have a really intentional format, which I've seen copied a lot by other channels, and I think we've created like a new style basically. And yeah, so it's been really, really intentional, like the keywords that we use and video titles, and it gets hard to name videos, and people give us a hard time. They're like, this isn't Acid House. I'm like, okay, well, like 5 of the songs are Acid House, and I don't know, I can't make a title that's like 30 words long.
Yeah, the whole set is in all one genre.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of intentionality behind all of that.
It's fascinating to hear that, because it's like those are the like building blocks to the success, that it's like, wow, we blew up, we never expected it, but you also knew what you were doing, and you come from a background of that. Tinzo, do you found like there was any background that you had that served in the growth of this as well?
Yeah, I think kind of all of us, like Jojo's partner Carly, she basically runs our operations and financials. My girlfriend Claudia and her best friend Kevin, they're literal engineers, so they're helping with production and all of that. So it really takes a village, and the best part is we're all friends with different expertises. I went to college for business, for entertainment, and currently work in music marketing, digital and social media. So we kind of all have our thing going for us that we, toss in the little pot and cook up.
Yeah,
how much do you think?
Like,
sorry, go.
Oh, Tinzo was like very fundamental in the beginning of like, we're talking to venues and like trying to throw parties. And
oh yeah, I used to work for a venue.
Tinzo used to work for a venue for a long time.
We were writing contracts and stuff. And
yeah, we had no idea. I mean, we really had not thrown an official party. We're not party promoters. I mean, we are now, but we were not party promoters, and we were literally just friends taking a party from our living room to big clubs and like yards, and growing it in a way that was sort of like a chicken with its head cut off, just like running around. But like obviously Tinzo had that experience that was like guiding us, and a lot of people just were really nice about like jumping in and helping out. And we have so many friends that like have offered just advice, but also just more importantly like their hands to like help set up and break down.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a big group effort for sure.
And are you guys cognizant of the impact that New York might have on the marketing of what this is, as opposed to like, deep house session in a basement in Wisconsin is a little different.
Which would be cool too.
That's funny. I never even thought about, I guess, yeah, I mean,
I was thinking about that.
New York's a buzzword for sure.
I was thinking about that for sure.
Because do you know it, having like living, like I guess from an outsider's perspective, and as an Australian, say,
yeah,
a lot of people see New York as like, it's the place, it's the spot, it's like the coolest place in the Western world, perhaps, and so like obviously when you see that, you're like, oh wow, cool, New York basement rooftop party. But as residents, you also are aware of that.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we're not born here. We spent most of our time growing up in Florida and
Minnesota to start.
What year did you move here?
2017.
2017, and I moved here in 2019. So we haven't been here a really long time. I definitely think like there is this part of New York which is like, you're either a native or, you're everyone else. So we're everyone else. But I mean, we love it here. I will probably never leave. And I've said many times that, book club, we're so lucky because we wouldn't really be able to start this in most other cities. I know Boiler Room started in London. I forget where Circle started, but that started in a living room, I think in somewhere in Paris, maybe. And so, yeah, I mean, we're really lucky to be here. And like, we came here and immediately, like I said, we had the book club group chat where we would just talk about like, where are we going dancing? Where are we going dancing? So immediately came here and fell in love with like the nightlife scene and the club culture in Brooklyn, which has been booming for the last few years. And that has played such a big part in our inspiration for book club and the parties that we have and
the culture of our parties too, because like I feel the most at home in New York. I'm not a native, but I will always consider it home because it just feels the most at home.
And there is that history that you were describing as well. It's like that's something that I should say I'm personally in love with. I don't want to speak for you, but I would think that we're both in love with as a product of what we do. So yeah, I don't know. Like New York I can't say enough good things about it for sure.
Because yeah, when I read out the titles of the
in a New York basement, yeah,
helps.
On a New York rooftop, it helps.
Yeah,
we're like we need T-shirts in a New York blank.
We don't use it as often anymore because now I think people know what book club is. So sometimes it's better to just make the title shorter if you can.
And where is it going? Where is book club like? It seems like you've got burgeoning DJ careers ahead of you, and that could easily become the thing. Boiler Room, I don't know how, I'm going to say it's around 12 years old now and has only expanded to festivals and, multi-city offices and teams and events, and they're doing more ticketed things, and they've dabbled in conversations and podcasts, and they've ebbed and flowed between in scale, I guess. But how about for you guys? What do you see in its future?
For book club specifically, the goal is to keep it what it is as much as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah, we don't want to... We're where we're at because of the magic of how this all started. So to deviate from that, I think would kind of take away from why we're doing it in the first place.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about taking it on tour, doing it in other cities, and when push came to shove, it was like maybe not, because one thing about book club that's great, you said it's like a group of friends. It's a big group of friends now because we have a lot of people that come regularly and that we've met through book club, but that wouldn't work on the road. If we do it in another city every night, like that's going to be a new group of people every time. So I think part of book club is, like you said, it's a world. It has its own fantasy lore around it with the librarian and the manifesto, and it's a place that you can travel to. It's sort of a destination. And I think keeping that as much as possible is going to be what keeps it alive. Because it is really easy to, as we're blowing up, to say, okay, everyone can come and we'll sell a bunch of tickets and this could be a get rich quick thing. But I don't think
we're
that...
protective of it.
Yeah, I don't think that'll last very long if it evolves into something that is not the magical thing that it started as.
Now that it has scale, it's more in a realm of protection than it is exploitation. And growing it the right way, I'm sure will come. But yeah, because I can imagine you'd do them all around the world and people would want to experience that. But I guess at the rate that it's moved, you could be doing parties all around the world this year.
We'll go around the world, but
yeah,
I think like in terms of growth for a book club, maybe not necessarily in, consistently doing 1,000 capacity, but I think growing more so in like our equipment and our tech and our production and getting more hands to help. But I think that's kind of how I see the growth, but not like expanding it just to sell tickets.
Yeah, the growth is like we want it to be better. We want the videos to be better. We want the parties to be better. But we don't want the growth to be in more cities, and you know, we want to still be. It's like
a novelty.
It's kind of like our baby, you know. Like, we don't want it to be exploited in any way. But that being said, you know, we are working on a tour, and we will be playing in cities, in other cities. We do intend on bringing the manifesto with us because it's something that we live and breathe as DJs. You know, not just at book club, but like, you know, when you come to a Tinzo plus Jojo show, like we want people to not face us and dance with each other and enjoy the music in that way. Like that is something that we hope to keep spreading even outside of book club too.
We never touched on what the manifesto actually is.
Yeah.
Do you do your homework? Do you know it by heart?
I don't. I should. I don't.
It's
don't
so
face the
funny
DJ.
Do you do your reading assignment?
It's so funny because it's just the manifesto has become so much bigger than what it is.
Oh yeah, like if people see anyone breaking it on YouTube, they'll timestamp it and be like, "This is not following rule number 4."
Wow.
And we're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, we're like, "Dang!" And it's knowing that I just came up with it in like 4 minutes on my couch, and like,
yeah, we're just workshopping wording, and then we're like, "Okay, publish."
Yeah, but but we didn't put that much thought into it, and now it's become this really big thing.
But I have it right here.
But yeah, do you want to read it, Derrick?
Sure.
Or you want to read it, Tinzo?
Yeah, I'll read it. I don't think Derrick has it in front of him.
I don't have it in front of me now.
But, okay, so it's called the Librarian's Manifesto. These are, you know, our principles that guide our parties. Number 1, come for the music. Number 2, be open to unfamiliar music and sounds. Number 3, respect one another. 4, face each other instead of the DJ. That's a fan favorite. 5, no phones allowed on the dance floor. 6, dress to express yourself. And 7, dance your heart out.
I love that.
Thank you.
Perfect. And to say you kind of, you know, put it together quickly and now it dictates everything. But I guess that's perhaps, you know, the story of book club radio in a sense. And I just wanted to finish where I guess I never got to, but I can bring it back to this, which is how we connected, which is I posted a story, as I often, many of my meetings with different people happen because I post stories of things that I'm just thinking about and not really thinking anyone's seeing it. And I talked about how what I do is, you know, I've existed adjacent to dance music culture, a part of my career, and I've observed it. And I feel like what I do is, I felt that I wasn't really I wasn't necessarily in my gut. I didn't feel like I was accepted into that world as someone that's on the internet talking about music and dance culture. I think I've been accepted by many different genres, but that genre felt like, you know, a bit like there's a lot more gatekeepers, and there's a lot more people that kind of cross their arms and say that's not how you do things, or that's not how you talk about things in out and where we are. And Jojo reached out and said, kind of empathized with that feeling about like being in a new space, especially on the internet. And I think that what you guys are doing and how we've connected and how I've heard your stories about how you strategically do think about the internet, but it is, you really care about the people in the room and you really care about the people on the internet. And I think that the community that I felt I wasn't a part of is not the community that I was ever meant to be part of. And I think that I can see a lot of similarities in what we do in different ways. And I think that you guys are part of the community that I am in, which is a new thing. And I guess I just really thank you for your sharing the story. And I think, you know, on behalf of people that enjoy your stuff, I think thank you for like caring about the music, and I think you guys are really doing it smartly. But you're also, I always talk about the thing that I care about most is about being sharing music with people, and the rest works itself out. And I think that you guys are really doing that too. So thank you.
Thank you. That's beautiful, Derrick.
It's surreal for me because I've watched you for a long time, obviously on TikTok, I think first. And so I've been a big fan for a very long time. So when I messaged you, or when I responded to your story, it was really, as a fan first, like, excited to message you, but also like on a deeper level of connection. Like I fully empathize with what you were talking about, because as I said, like, I think we can have imposter syndrome kind of taking such big jumps, and there's a lot of gatekeeping for sure. And also, as you were mentioning before, like a lot of people that you were talking about, like life, real life and what's not real life, as the internet plays into that. And I think a lot of people like are quick to say that, what you do because you talk to people on social media is like less legitimate than kind of the history of broadcast, basically. And what we do, because we film ourselves, is less legitimate than like the history of dance culture. So I really relate to that.
And it's not true, is it? It is all real life, isn't it?
And everything's moving in a digital space. Like even being in marketing and music marketing, most budgets go to digital ads and working with content creators. And so it's evolving. We're just kind of there at the right time.
Yeah, I think also we try to really be not afraid of change. I think a lot of people, there's so much change happening in our lives, like on a technology standpoint, and then like in a global political standpoint. And like, I think a lot of people just live in a state of fear because of all of the change happening. And so I think if you can like fight that change, or like at least kind of let it pass over you, then it's easier to like find a way forward. I feel like book club is like not trying to fight the change, but kind of like live with it.
To kind of close that thought, I think it's like existing on the internet as much as we have, there is a love for, the whole entirety of the experience, as opposed to like perhaps some other institutions try to separate the two. I don't know if I'm making sense, but.
You mean separating the internet part of it from the IRL part of it?
Yeah, it's one and the same. Jojo and Tinzo, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you joining and sharing your stories, and all the best with Coachella, all the best with the growth. I'll be watching on the sidelines. I'll be clicking on the thumbnails, guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks, Derrick.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It was produced by Julia Wang. The branding was produced by Jonny Sikov. Thank you so much to Jojo and Tinzo for taking part in this. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rated it on your app of choice. Give it 5 stars. It helps me continue to produce the podcast by sharing it with more people. If you want, also, it'd be appreciated if you shared it with people that might find it interesting. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode.